November was certainly a complicated month for American plane maker Boeing. You may recall that in the first week we saw that massive strike action come to a close, but interestingly, when you take a look at their aircraft order and delivery tally for that month, especially focusing in on your deliveries, it was actually pretty bleak, and that was highlighted with just 13 commercial aircraft planes being shipped off in the month just gone. The staggeringly low numbers come, yes, amid strike action, but also, if you were unaware, an inability on Boeing's part to actually get 737 MAX production resumed for the entirety of that month. Delivering just 13 units across November is less than a quarter of what was handed over to airline customers 1 year prior, where that tally stood at, if you believe it or not, 56, and the 13 is therefore among some record lows for a beaten and bruised company. While production for the MAX has resumed, things aren't necessarily expected to get any easier, as challenges continue with production output rates capped following increased oversight from the Federal Aviation Administration. The governing regulator imposed restrictions at the beginning of this year to investigate the persistent quality issues that have been affecting Boeing. The FAA argued that if any increases were to occur, the company's focus would shift away from rebuilding the business, and instead once more towards how to generate the most amount of revenue and move through that extensive backlog, which could very easily lead to slip-ups. You probably know by now if you've been around the industry for a while, but if you haven't, one of the biggest reasons of blame that we've seen put on Boeing for their demise has been that all-important focus on profits and getting planes out as quickly as possible without really double-checking to see if they are in working order. Despite the frustrations all this has caused, and I'm talking once again on the output rate reductions, even Boeing couldn't necessarily argue with the approach undertaken by the FAA. However, its impact since being capped has certainly been profound, and this financial position has gone from shaky to completely unstable. Boeing wants to try to increase production once more to 38 aircraft per month. This is at the least for the moment. The cap and deemed the sweet spot in a bad situation to generate the all-important revenue that will help the company even a little bit. Obviously, there's much more room to grow, but you've got to take it step by step. While Boeing finds itself in a strikingly different position from competitor Airbus, unfortunately also the results on a month-by-month basis just from an output standpoint are very much different. Airbus was able to deliver over 80 planes across November, and while it is battling its own supply chain issues and obviously complexities, including some program inefficiencies, it is facing nothing like the turmoil Boeing is going through. The European plane maker recognizes also that a better Boeing is ultimately better for the broader industry, helps drive innovation alongside some healthy competition, and obviously from an airline standpoint, the cataclysmic impact we've seen take place isn't optimal. You'd like to see everything running perfectly. I know that's not always possible, but you certainly wouldn't want to see it at the rate it has been. All of this has ultimately led Airbus into a position where it really can cement itself as a successful plane maker year in, year out, and it has the room to do this for decades. You may ask why, and why on earth am I discussing this when factoring in that this is a video about Boeing's deliveries? Well, I just find it fascinating to really examine the two companies' contrasting situations. Airbus is in a much more robust position, and this is going to allow it to commit significantly more resources towards innovation and work towards an all-important new commercial airliner. While some of that is taking place at Boeing, ultimately they have problems that I could sit here and talk about for an hour, and they're aware of those. They need to work through them first. Whereas Airbus, by the time they conduct all their relevant research and deem that an upgrade is worthy, could launch that new endeavor sooner than Boeing, allowing it to have an advantage for decades to come. Boeing, therefore, really does find it at a critical juncture. I know I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It simply can't afford to see anything more go wrong in 2025. It needs a year of stability, and that would actually go a long way in helping many believe that they're on the right path. I'd love to hear your take down below in the comments. From those obviously really low delivery output rates, which don't necessarily come as a shock, but are just a little bit of a wow, to their competition with Airbus. You can let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thanks a bunch for watching. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow for your next aviation recap.
And we'll fly.